If you've wondered how much it costs to buy and live in a van, I'm going to cover everything financial in this video. I'm approaching 2 years living in the van and I've just done all my financial admin for 2024, so I'll share all of that in the second part of this video. First of all, let's just talk about the upfront costs and also how I paid for this, because I didn't have any money. So I bought a van that was around £18,000 and it cost me around £14,000 for the build and the security that I've put in. So we're looking at around £32,000 in total to set up, okay? This is a lot of money for most people. It's a lot of money for me. And I started off in this whole project with savings at a total of nothing. But what I did have was experience and a good relationship with using debt as a tool. There was no other way that I could have afforded to do this. And no, mummy and daddy didn't pay for it. So if you came here to put that in the comments, please jog on. They have helped me tremendously and so generously with all of the time that they have put into helping me build this and by letting me live rent-free in their home for the year whilst we did it. But I have funded this project myself, thank you very much. I'm sure people will ask why I didn't save up to do it, but the landlord who owned the flat that I was living in outright put the rent up by a quarter for absolutely no reason, so that wasn't an option. But by moving it in with my parents and doing the build there, I could then put all of that money that I was previously putting into rent and utilities and bills and whatever for the flat straight into the van instead. So that's, I guess, 11 months of rent bills, council tax bills, utilities bills, everything that I was spending on living in a house. I could just plug that straight into the van instead at the same time that I was building it. So initially, I took out a pretty hefty loan. I have a really good credit rating, so I managed to get a rate of around 4%, which is pretty good. And doing it that way is a much cheaper option than going down the whole vehicle finance route. The interest rates are far higher on that. And by getting a loan and then paying for the van in cash, you own it outright from the off. I think with finance, there are some stipulations in the contract that you can't make any modifications to that vehicle until you have finished paying it off, because that finance company owns that vehicle until you've paid it off in full. So you avoid any kind of legal issues with that and you save yourself some money in the interest too. But the build ended up costing me, I guess, about double what I thought it would. Even using the money that I was saving for renting and my salary that was coming in. So I needed to use credit cards to then top up that extra money. Again, there's smart ways of doing this. I've been using credit cards as a tool for years, so I kind of knew how to play this, and I already had some good cards with high credit limits and frequent offers for really good interest-free periods. So for anyone who is uninitiated in credit cards and kind of how to use them, you've got purchase cards, balance transfer cards, and rewards cards, and they all have different offers. If you have a good credit rating, you can get really good deals with really long interest-free periods, often around 2 years, where you haven't got to pay any interest. So start off with a purchase card, buy everything on that, no interest for 2 years. If you haven't paid off the amount in full when the interest-free period ends, then you want to apply for a different kind of card, a balance transfer card. Basically, you just shift the debt from one card onto that one. And again, you can get this with really long interest-free periods. You just have to pay a flat fee to transfer the money, which is often around between 1 and 5%, depending on the offers that you've got available. But you pay that once, and then you carry on enjoying the interest-free period for the rest of the time. And you can kind of just do this indefinitely until you pay the debts off. This video is not sponsored, but if you go to Money Saving Expert, if you're in the UK at least, you can find so much advice on there. It gives you all the latest card deals. You can even check if you're likely to get one without having to do a credit score check. So really useful tool, and I pretty much use that whenever I need a new card. This video is also not financial advice, just telling you how I did it, and everyone's going to have their own situations, okay? The main thing is that you're always in control of the debt that you're accumulating, anything that you're borrowing, and always make sure you pay off the minimum payment every month without fail, or you will lose the rest of that interest-free period and you'll be paying interest rates of 20 to 30%, which will rinse you. Don't do that. So with a combination of loans, cards, and my salary that I was no longer sending to a millionaire landlord, I was able to fund my whole project. It's been nearly 3 years since I bought the van, and I'm still paying it off, but hopefully not for much longer, because YouTube's going quite well. Thanks everybody, really appreciate all the views, comments, subscriptions, etc. Hopefully that debt will be behind me very shortly indeed. Now obviously there's lots of different ways of using finance, of buying a vehicle, of doing the build, and you can do this on very different budgets as well to have this kind of lifestyle. I just did what I wanted to get the build that I wanted. What I will say is I've never had debts this high, and it does take a level of confidence that you're able to manage that and all of the repayments that come with it for the length of time it's going to come with it, and handle that debt responsibly and pay it back as fast and as cheaply as you can. Which brings us to how much does it cost to actually live this way. I'm not going to include my personal expenditure because it's personal and kind of irrelevant, but I will say I had a really, really huge unexpected bill last year that has thrown a spanner in the works of how quickly I can pay this van debt off. So the lesson here, make sure that there is wiggle room in your repayment schedule for unexpected costs, and don't fall off your bike and lose a front tooth because that shit's expensive. So what I will do is I will share all of the costs that are comparable to living in a house and anything that comes with owning, running and living in a vehicle. Okay, let's start with the van bills. So my insurance last year, £729. That includes legal cover, and I have a mileage cap of 12,000 miles, which is plenty for me. You can buy other options, but it is stipulated for some reason in camper van conversions. I think they just assume, you're taking it away for 5 trips a year or something. My insurance will renew soon, so if anybody is interested in a video about insurance for converted vehicles, let me know in the comments and I'll get one done near that time. £346 went to the DVLA for VED, for Vehicle Excise Duty, which is basically tax for owning a vehicle in the UK. I spent £43 on breakdown cover. The van passed its MOT, so that was only £58 for the test, and I had a service which was £250. So the total expected van costs for the year, £1,426. And then there's the things that you can't predict. So I noticed a dodgy looking tyre with a weird little bulge. The only one I could get quickly to replace that was a £40 part used bargain. That was a win. I had a problem with my brakes squeaking, which was fixed by taking the wheels off and giving it a good deep clean and putting them on again. That was £150. Somehow one of my rear lights got cracked. I don't even know how that happened. But I bought a new one on eBay. That was £37. I had some trouble at the beginning of winter getting the van to start. Still haven't entirely fixed that problem, but I did try changing the starter battery. That was £150. I've also been having this problem where I keep hitting my underslank water tanks on the ground, partly because they were crappy knockoffs that I'm getting replaced soon, and partly because the weight of my vehicle was really putting strain on the suspension. So I upgraded the suspension last year for double leaf springs. That was £645. In hindsight, I really should have had that done a long time ago because those solo leaf springs were fighting for their lives. But, you live and you learn. The vehicle now looks much higher and happier and healthier, so that was a good investment. So a total cost for additional vehicle maintenance was £1,022. So the total of what I spent on running and repairing the van was £2,448 in 2024, which averages at £204 per month. Next up is diesel. So I said that the insurance that I have has a cap of 12,000 miles. I actually only did 8,000 last year, and I think 8,000 the year before. So that's more than enough for me, but I'd like to have a little bit of wiggle room. I never seem to travel as much as I want to, so that's where it's quite low. I do tend to do a long trip every couple of months, and in the summer I travel a lot more because I go to festivals and there's just a lot more going on. But in the winter I'm kind of loiter around where my friends and family are because it's just nice to spend time with people. So my total spend on diesel for the year was £2,082, which includes all of the diesel that I use for heating as well, because that's all coming from the same tank. So even with that in mind, I can only obviously calculate any miles per gallon for the whole diesel use. That came to around 25 miles per gallon, which is pretty decent considering I'm probably got about 3.3 tons in here, and that's driving and heating, so not bad. I spent a small amount on things like AdBlue's green wash, air for the tyres, but it's so small I haven't accounted for it. So per month we've got £174 on diesel. Pretty good. Now, utilities and services. I guess this is what's the most comparable to being in a home, a traditional home. I've got Wi-Fi in the van. That runs on a portable router, which I bought as part of the build. I've got a data SIM card in that, which basically takes 4G signal, converts it into a really good Wi-Fi signal, and I get unlimited data from there. This cost me £183 for a preloaded SIM card with 13 months of data, so we'll just call that quits for the year. I've used campsites a few times, but only as an option when I'm meeting up with a lot of friends. I've never had to go to a campsite to get utilities and spend money to basically, keep myself running. So I haven't counted anything for that. I have a gym membership, which allows me access to about 360 gyms across the UK and unlimited showers whenever I'm in the proximity of one of them. So a lot of my water use is done there. So I'm going to count that as a utility expense. That was £433 last year. I've got a security system on the van. That's £99 a year for the company that runs it, so I'll include that as a bill. I spent £290 doing laundry, which is so much. Kind of unavoidable. I can't not do my laundry. And I can't wash it and dry it all in here by hand, that's just not possible. I spent £39 last year on LPG, which I just use for cooking. And now I guess we talk about top-ups of electric and water. So I have as much solar as I can fit on the roof, and I've got a B2B charger that charges up the leisure battery as I drive. And in the summer and autumn, spring, this gives me more than enough electricity generation for everything I want to do. But in the shorter months of winter, it is not enough. Not enough by far. I'm going to cover more of this in another video coming soon about winter van life, but right now the days are short, the sun is low when it's out, and I run out of power in 3 to 5 days. And then I go and park on a very kind friend's driveway, use my mains charger to charge the van back to full overnight, and I send them some money to say thanks. So we once tried this with a smart meter to see how much it cost, and it was around £3.50 for a full charge. I send them £7 because I just really appreciate their willingness to help me, and without that option I would be screwed. Or I'd be going to try and find a campsite, which many of which are closed in the winter, and would cost me, £30 plus, with all the hassle as well of having to arrive at a certain time and having to leave at a certain time, which often does not work with my schedule. Over the year, I've sent around £80 to people to top up my power, and whilst I'm there, I'll often grab a tank of water as well, which for the rest of the year, I do rely on friends and family who are just kind enough to let me have a bath full of water to put in my van, and that normally lasts me about 2 weeks, so I don't really use that much water because I'm showering somewhere else. So my total utilities for the year, that is Wi-Fi, electric, water, gas, overpriced laundry, and I'll count the gym here because that's my main water use as well, is £1,124 or £93 per month. So all in all, that comes to £5,654 for the year, which worked out at £471 per month. Now, of course, in an unlucky year, I could be spending thousands just on van repairs. it's such a huge variable, and I kind of budget with the expectation that I might have to spend 2 to 3 grand a year on the van, and if I don't, that's a bonus. But if something happened and you had a bill that was big, which it might be, if you had engine trouble, then you don't really have a choice but to pay it, and possibly find somewhere to stay whilst that's being done if you're not near somebody that you can stay with. Definitely need that sort of backup in the budget. But yeah, £470 a month, I think I couldn't get away with not spending. So are you surprised by this cost? Is it higher or lower than you thought it would be? Let me know in the comments, along with any other questions you have about how I've basically paid for this and how I paid for this lifestyle. And tune in next time for some winter van life realities and challenges, because I've had a few this year. Alright, catch you soon. Bye!